Alright, it looks like I finally got this going. Um, I'm trying a new setup this week. Kind of a little nervous to try this, so what I'm doing is I have myself on camera, and then I am going to have my desktop in another window. So here I'll show you what it will look like. So yeah, so you'll be able to see me in one part of the feed, and then you'll be able to see what I'm working on. And I can even bump myself away if I'm feeling self-conscious. So for now, what I'm doing is I was away for a week. I was on vacation on a nice cruise, though it was tiring because I have kids. And I continued what we were doing the last time with the auto mat, and now I just need to start coloring more of the shot. Hopefully I can make a little headway tonight in it. So, alright, so I have, let me hook up my glove. I have this handy dandy glove that I use because I'm on a Wacom mobile studio, which I showed last week. And the mobile studio is a little sensitive to touch, so I have to use a glove to basically make it so my hand doesn't register touch. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. So you can see I have the original coloring. Actually, I'll go to drawing mode. You can kind of get a better idea of, whoops. See, that's how sensitive the touch is. So we have all these blue lines here, and what that is it's a it kind of shows you the boundaries of all of the drawing areas. This can be a little helpful when coloring, so we will probably keep it, but for now I'm going to just hide it, so you can hit K to hide it. And that kind of came with doing the auto trace. So the way I like to approach this is I like to approach things one color at a time. I think that's usually a little easier. So you see here is her hair. So it's fairly simple, except when it starts to do stuff like that. So undo. And yeah, so unfortunately I thought this would be a little easy. It's probably not going to be, because nothing ever is. So I'm going to go to brush, pick a, see, I just set up, this is actually Harmony 17 that I'm playing with tonight, which just came out. So I have to set up new preferences, because in the older version they didn't have preferences. They don't have a way to port preferences the way Photoshop does, which is a little on the annoying side. Let me go to, so I need my tool properties. And what I was using the last time worked really good was something like this. Now, if you ever want to move stuff up in the hierarchy, you can just drag it. And then that kind of sets it in a better place. Alright, so we're going to keep this paint job. I don't really care so much about how bad this looks right now. So I want to paint in the gray area. I just want all the gray areas painted. It actually doesn't matter if I go over into the hair, into the face or not, because I'm going to paint the face later. So it's actually probably a little bit better to be more aggressive with how I'm painting it, which is why I'm using a larger brush. And then while I'm at it, I'll also kind of clean up the line a little bit here and there where I care. Yeah, I mean, I got to keep in mind though that the resolution is pretty low here, though I am considering putting this out as 4K at some point. Oh, I realized I was doing all the brush stuff with the picture-in-picture over, so I need to get rid of that. Yeah, so what I was doing is I was moving this brush up earlier. Let me do one other quick thing. So just up. I'm actually posting some things on Reddit. Yep. Okay. So, and I want to Alright, so let me just go back to the stream. Alright, so back to painting. Alright, so right now it's about just going through and getting the yellow hair in. Actually, if I wanted to be even more quick about it, I would just do this. One of the cool things is you can use your finger to drag this around. So the auto mat is a super awesome tool, but doesn't always do the best job. And what I'm trying to do is just get the edging in here. So I don't necessarily need the bar up. I think I could just look at the exposure sheet. Sometimes that's a little bit easier, gives you a little bit more room to work. Alright. Yeah, so you see some of the problems here with the auto cure. It's really bad with holes. Alright, so now what's kind of cool is I can go out wide and I can do the whole head. Oh. I think that was my wife's computer. Let me mute that. It's almost like the Windows 7 chime. Alright. So the other thing too is I have my keyboard mapped, or let me switch back to I'm using a software called OBS, which is great for doing this stuff, but I do not have hotkeys, so I need to do this manually, so I'm sorry. Hopefully next week I'll have some graphics and some other things. Right. So, as I think I've said before, one of the neat things Harmony has is it has this Fruit Ninja-esque interface for cleaning up stuff. So I'm just checking the edge work. Clean it up a little bit. Alright, so one thing I'm not liking is I'm not able to see where I'm drawing or erasing. So that's kind of driving me nuts. I believe that's a preference. Actually, going over that quickly, one of the things I like to do when I start in a new version is make sure that I turn on advanced display, support overlay. One of the other things I like to disable, there's an animation thing that I like to turn on. You can also add on multi-threading, which we're leaving that as is right now. There's an animation feature that's really useful. Oh, here's where stop motion keyframes are if you want to just do auto stop motion keyframes, which is useful if you're puppeting, which I'm not right now. I usually turn on gesture support. I think it's under advanced. Maybe I'm wrong. Basically what it does is there's a setting that allows you to disable animation on pegs. To force basically animation to pegs. Oh well, I can't find it right now. I think they moved it, or I just don't really know where it is. Either way. Oh yeah, I wanted to see about brush size cursor. That's what I want. Yeah, that's much better. Alright, well at least it's not too... Alright, it doesn't work with erase. Let's see if I actually click erase. It kind of helps. Alright. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So actually, on this tablet, I'm not used to having a keyboard, but because I'm actually working on my big PC, I actually have a keyboard for once. So that's kind of nice. Alright. Okay. So. Oh my god, I do not like this. I set this up and then realized that this is insane and I can't see what the hell's going on. Right. Let's undo that. Yeah, I wish it would show me. I may have to look into that for next time. It's kind of driving me nuts. Alright. Yeah, so one thing that the blue lines really help you do is see. Yeah, I have a really big, nasty eraser selected. Let's go in and modify its settings. Oh, they came up on a different screen. So, yeah, so I want the minimum size down. Probably something like 10. And the maximum at like 20. Refresh it. Alright, that should be... Yeah, it's a bit better. This is more realistic. So yeah, so just quickly going through these, making sure that all the edging is the way I want it. And then I'll show you how I'll start doing the face. Okay, so now I'm going to start doing the face, skin. Alright, so one thing I can do with, oops, I have eraser selected. So I want to keep this setting. I may want to modify the brush a bit. Down to a 20. Just have a. So one of the other things that this version apparently has is stylus control. Which I have not found yet. Basically, it lets you adjust how soft or hard you want the line to feel, which is kind of neat. So I don't really need to color all of this in. I just need to get the edging done and the yellow out. And basically, if there's any area that I'm going to overlap with another color, there's no reason to be precious with it. And then I can color it all in. So one of the other areas that she is going to have done is her hands. And that's it for this one. Alright, so same goes for this. Just worry about the edging. Not so much what's in the interior, because I can take care of that pretty quickly. Like that. Then take care of the hand. Sometimes the blue lines are distracting, but nice at the same time. Kind of helps you see what you're doing. Oops. Yes, there's a little overshoot right there. So if I want to see it over a background, can enable that if I want more contrast. It's not 100% accurate to the background that I have. Its positioning is slightly off, but it helps. But if I want it to be faster, I can also turn it off. So now that I'm working in this, I realize maybe I should have my picture-in-picture on the left side, so it's not obstructing the artwork. Well, I guess the menus, or maybe at least a switch between the two. Yeah, the autofill is so good, but it's definitely not perfect. Let me just scroll ahead a little bit. Yeah, see, it has all this stuff in here, and I definitely don't want any of that. Okay, back to the head. So I'm still cranking away on this. Just realized my temperature in my house is really hot, so hopefully it doesn't get too loud. It's gonna start any second. There it goes. Yeah, I'm like dying here in front of all this computer stuff. Yeah, it might be a little loud. I haven't quite figured out audio for this program yet. The headset kind of helps. I know some people put on music while they do this. I don't quite know how the rights management works for that yet, so I gotta figure out what I can listen to and what I can keep in the stream versus not. Or just maybe I hear stuff and then you don't. I don't know how it works. Typically, I like watching stuff on TV while I'm working. Or I sit on my couch and work. It's not the best. It's definitely not the most productive. That's why I'm doing this, to get my butt off of the couch. Man, I love that feeling when the AC first comes on. It's blowing you. It's cool air. It's like that first cup of cold water in the morning when you wake up. Just kind of wakes you up and keeps you going. I have a few more of these faces. We can switch to a different body part. Basically, you don't want to be in a situation where you are changing colors and repainting things as you're moving. The reason is that it does actually slow you down. If you look at the old ink and paint artists in the studios, they typically painted one color at a time, as opposed to just doing the whole thing at once. It's a little bit more efficient this way, because then you're not reworking your colors every single time and worrying about, oh, is this the right color, or changing it or anything. You just know what is right. You're just doing it. Alright, so I got another one of these little holes in the hand here. So one thing I guess I could talk about while I'm still doing this, there was a book I saw that was out a few weeks ago. They were talking about it on the news. It was about generalizing your interests as opposed to being a specialist. There's always this push in the animation industry to be a specialist. I forgot the name of the book. Let me see if I can look it up quickly. Well, that did not go the direction I wanted, but it does go to the point that I've always kind of felt that if you want to be a specialist in animation, you gotta be really good. You gotta be really good at what you're working on. You gotta, it's kind of that whole thing of you have to work 10,000 hours at something for it to be truly to be a true master of it. And not saying that I don't want to be a master or that nobody should be, but 10,000 hours is a lot of hours. Just to kind of put that in perspective, the first film I worked on in college for my thesis, which wasn't incredibly good, but I still put a lot of hours in. I actually did tracking on it. I tracked the hours, and from tracking the hours, I realized that I'd put about 450 hours into it. With that, I realized it kind of was a way for me to see how much, if I freelance after school, how much I would charge for a 4-minute animated film, or how many hours it would take me to make a film of the same quality. And it kind of just gave me a good idea about how much things cost, especially when I'm doing them myself. Currently at Nick, a big part of my job is also figuring out and giving quotes on how long projects will take. Individual animators will also give quotes, but I think it's important to realize that you would have to make probably 10 or 20 of those films to really become a master at it. And that's fine and all, but like for me, like when I was in school, I really wanted to be like a Disney animator and to be working in the old, on The Lion King or one of those things, or Beauty and the Beast. And that whole industry died out, and then I had to adapt. So, being a generalist and still having a technical background, albeit not professional technical background, really helped me know that I could learn to be I could be different types of animators. And the way that worked out is I'm just switching my tool right now for something slightly smaller. Actually, I'll just go with this one. It made me realize that what I really need to do is just be a good animator and to kind of understand the whole process of how stuff's made. So basically you can either be a generalist where you understand everything about animation, or you can be a specialist and just be really good at one thing. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I feel like, especially teaching, there's a lot of people who aren't really adept enough to be that specialist or even have the patience. A lot of it is just, I don't want to do storyboarding day in and day out. I don't want to work on one show all day long. I've worked on short-term show projects for a year and a half, and it gets really tedious. it's fun and it definitely is worth an experience, but I like what I do, which is I get to work on a lot of different small projects and experience different styles and work with different creators. And I think that's a little bit more interesting than just doing a one-off project for years and years and years. It's not to say that there's anything wrong with that. It's not to say that for some people that works better. But knowing myself and knowing how I like to do things, I'm very scattered. I mean, it's probably one of the reasons why I haven't been able to finish this film, is I've just been doing other things. I've been playing with my iPad, doing illustrations, doing I was doing side projects. Currently I teach, though right now because it's summer break I'm not. But all those things eat up time. And if that's time that could be spent becoming a better animator or becoming very much better at a specific thing, I kind of just don't care. And what I kind of feel is like there's this like shame that comes with it. When I had an intern years ago who I guess wanted to be an animator, and he was kind of shocked that I didn't want to just get out of working at Nick. And the work that I was doing there was video game work at the time for preschool, and it was fun, but it was also really stable, really good, and the money was good. I was able to have a life. I was able to have weekends, have late nights, going out and stuff, and meeting friends and stuff. And if I was working on other stuff, I may have not had that. It's not to say that that is everybody's experience, or that other people may have not had other better experiences in actually doing work that way. But I just didn't feel like that career path was the way I wanted to go. And I kind of feel that there is some shame in the industry if you don't want to work in a feature film or want to do bigger things. Even in VFX, like I hate to say this, but like I follow Reddit a lot, and the VFX section in Reddit is a lot of snobbery. It's a lot of people thinking that this type of compositing or this type of working is the only way to work, and everybody else is just wrong. I'm just picking a different color right now. And it's like, is that really how you want to live? Is that like, all right, so some people want to work in After Effects. Does that make them less of a compositor than somebody who works in Nuke? There's plenty of people who work in programs like Nuke who aren't that good, and there's plenty of people who are After Effects compositors who are far better than some Nuke compositors. I've even had to do rudimentary work years ago in After Effects cutting masks, and at the time there was a more pricier package for doing it, which isn't as common now, but it was called Flame. It's still around. I think Autodesk actually bought it. And the studio I was working for was competing against it, and what was interesting was that the mask cutting that was being done in After Effects was actually far better than was being done in the much higher and much more expensive Flame studio. Now, After Effects is built, or at least back when I was doing it, was built to do masking far better. But just because you use a specific tool doesn't mean that you're lesser than. And going back to the generalization, I think that you should, as an artist in this day and age, know a lot about the ins and outs of everything. It's like if you're a comic book artist, you should know how the print process works. You should know how to lay your own type. You should know how to write. You should know the whole process. You shouldn't just be an illustrator. Now, should you work with people who are better writers than you and learn to and collaborate with people who are better at it than you? Sure, because that will make you a better artist, and it will make your work better when you collaborate. But you need to, I feel like you need to be able to see every aspect of it to start, so you know what parts you're good at and what parts you're bad at, and then you know how to improve yourself. Alright, so now I'm going to add the shine. So what's actually interesting is the shine I add in the overlay layer. I think it's... Oh yeah, I add it in the overlay layer. So I forgot what it is. Let me eyedropper it and find out. It's eye white. That matters because of how it's composited. So I'm going to disable tool properties, disabling this function over here, which kind of hides the, kind of makes sure the color stays within the field. The fill is what I'm getting at. So now I'm going to go back again. So typically I would probably go through this whole shot and do this. I wouldn't just do this as piecemeal as I'm doing this. But I don't want to spend all night doing this, and I wanted to just try out this software. Alright, so now I'm going to do the cheeks. So I'm just eyeballing the cheeks in. They get fuzzed out anyway. And then at the same time I can fix any issues with the, oops. Yeah, so I screwed up. Alright, let me go back to the cheeks. Yeah. Cheeks go on the color art layer. You can see it right there. Cheek, 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 cheek. Yeah, the last one's a little too. Cheek, cheek. Alright, I'm going to fix the skin a little bit right there. Alright, so now I'm going to get back into the body stuff. So go back to the start of this section. So body stuff's typically a lot faster. So first we're going to do the chest plate, which is this piece. Oops. So yeah, so the overdrawing I was talking about is why I have to click this little button here, because then what happens is you get this where it's cut in. So now if I was smart, what I would do is I'll do every instance of this first. go back and color it. Actually, what I should do is come back in here and draw the chest plate in. So if I do a few of these, what you'll see is now I can go through and color them faster. Rotate, it might be a little easier for me to draw. Typically your hand works better at one angle than at others. So you tend to be a little faster if you naturally move with the way your hand wants to move as opposed to how you want it to move. This is one of those ones where the skin got messed up again. Yeah, just fix that up a little bit. Then go back to the chest. It's really the face stuff that takes the longest. This body stuff should go pretty quick, I think. Yeah. This is the last in the set. Whoops. Whoops. Right, no big deal. Yeah, so what happened there was I switched out of drawing mode. Well, I selected the wrong layer. Like if I do this, the wrong layer is selected and that doesn't want to work, right? It's not a big deal. Things don't disappear in this program like that. So they do from time to time, and your first time you play with it, you're kind of like, why did it do that? It's probably just don't know how it works yet. So here, now I'll show you a neat little trick with the belt, which I think I showed last week. So what I can do is I can take the suit color, right click it. Oops, that is not right click. And then I can do protect. Now, when I do the purple, if I do the belt, I can just go in here and paint it. And what that's doing is it's basically saying, don't paint this gray color, just paint the other gray color. So as you start to get through your drawing, you're able to kind of start doing this more and more, and this can usually help you color quite a bit faster. Whoops, alright. So then we're going to want to remove the protection on it. I don't like how my right click is set up here, but I'll fix that for next time. Alright, so now I gotta do the shoulders. I did realize that I kind of was messy with the suit on the hand and these. So I gotta edge these in a little bit better, because that is actually supposed to be the color. Some overshoot here. Here. Alright, so I'm going to switch to the purple. Purple is in the shoulders. So for the most part, I was careful about that, but I should have tightened this up a bit more. Surprisingly, this is almost done. There's another one with the hand that's messed up. Fix that quickly. And as soon as I finish this, then I'm off to the probably being a little more precious with it than I really need to be. A lot of this stuff is resolution dependent, so if I'm looking at it in the render and I can't even see it because its bitmap quality is so low, even though I can zoom in so tight here, it's not always worth it. I mean, what I should be doing is checking my camera view. If I go to display, this display mode, I should be able to see. And we can zoom in 100%. How do I do that? View. Anyway, that's not too important at this point. But yeah, be aware of your resolution. It's kind of why I'm not being too precious about this, because she is so tiny and full body in this shot. Alright, so now the next piece is the console. And what that is that is her cuff. So this is pretty straightforward. I swear I have the loudest mechanical keyboard ever. Alright, so all I'm doing is I'm just giving a boundary on it. And the reason is that then I'm going to come back, I'm going to do a fill. Okay. So now what I'm able to do quickly color all of this in. Alright, and then the last one is I have to do the screen. This is a little harder. So for something like this, I'll probably zoom in more. So wouldn't hurt to switch to a smaller brush. And probably end up doing the exact same thing. Alright, same thing. Whoops. Typically I work without a keyboard because I use my tablet more as a computer and less as a screen, so I'm typically going a bit slower. So it's nice to kind of do this way. Oh, I got a little hitch there. That is the belt, which is the chest. I don't think I have a specific one for belt. No, I don't. Okay, so the last bit is the boots. So this part's really fast. So I do the boot top. Okay, just grab my larger brush, zoom in a bit. All I do is I just paint the top. Harmony does have a paint multiple frames at the same time feature, but typically I don't use that for this stuff because I feel like I'll be fighting it. See, I missed a line there. So we'll go to the line, go to this, color. See, switch it out of this. Switch back. Almost done. Oops, not doing this one tonight. Alright, so. Sometimes it works better than others. There we go. So the idea is to lasso these large areas for the most part. I should be able to get this done pretty quick. Great. Alright, so now I gotta do the little tips. And that's it. So, don't want to do that. So one thing that's kind of always worth thinking about when you're animating is everything you do, every line, especially in 2D, ends up costing you time. So do you want to add these little lines on it? Do you want to add these little details? I mean, in the illustration it looks great, but you can start to see why a lot of modern animation simplifies out so much, because it does become tedious to have to color everything, or line everything, or ink everything. Initially I had this project set up as a puppet project, but I decided, after I animated a few scenes as puppets, that I didn't like the look. So I decided to switch it back to a hand-drawn piece. But I took the rigged, the design that I used for the rig character, and then I made a hand-drawn version of her. And that's the current design. I had earlier designs I kind of think I liked more, but this was a choice about efficiency. And I really wanted the animation to be efficient, or at least as efficient as I thought it could be. So here is all of the piece we animated tonight, cleaned up. So it's about a second. So hopefully tomorrow night I'll do a bit more and we can try this again, and we can wrap it up. And I think that's going to be it for tonight. Maybe tomorrow I'll have some newer graphics and I can try a different look of this and get some more people to watch. Thanks, good night.